Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to Book Review. In the past years, a lot of Muslims have been inquiring, what are the rights of Christians living between Muslims? What are the rights do Christians have when they're living with Muslims in a country where the Christians are the majority? And what are the rights of the Christians in a country where the Muslims are the majority? This led a lot of the converts and a lot of Muslims as well to write about Muslim and Christian interaction. And that's the book for us. And that's the book we're talking about today. Muslim and Christian Interactions by Yahya, M.A. on Diju. The author of this book is a very special person. And our guest for today is a very special person too, who's going to talk to us about the author. I'm proud to have with me Professor Muhammad Abdullah al-Sharqawi, the head and the lecturer in the Islamic Faculty of Islamic Philosophy and Comparative Religion, Dar al-Ulum, Cairo University. Professor, thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. Jazakallahu khairan. I'm very glad you're with us again.
Also me.
Professor, let's talk about the author of this book and give us a brief about him and his biography.
Yeah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'd like to thank you for being with you, for inviting me to talk about...
I'm glad you're with us. I'm glad. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, to Yahya Ondigo and his book, Muslim Christian Interactions, Past, Present,
Very interesting
Future.
book.
Very interesting book, and also very interesting personality.
Let's talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us a brief about his biography.
I'd like first to quote the author when he talk about himself as a Christian and talk about his family.
Great.
His family.
And that he talked about himself at the start of the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me...
He's actually African, right?
Yes, he from Kenya. He from Kenya.
He's from Kenya.
And studied in Ghana.
He studied in Ghana.
Yeah, in Ghana, and he.
And he was a Christian converted to Islam.
Yes, wrote something about himself. Tried to.
So is he a Muslim for a long time, or he just converted recently?
Before 14 years.
14 years?
Yeah, 14 years.
Okay.
Embraced Islam, converted to Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
So what did he say about himself?
Yeah. Let me read. I was born in a very strict Christian home of the SDA. SDA means Seventh-day Adventist, as a Christian sect. In Kenya, of course, where I took my primary, secondary, and high school education, after which I joined the Kenyan Armed Forces. During my childhood and teenage years, my parents always took us, me, my brothers, my sisters, and me, to church on Saturday. Not on Saturday, because they from this sect. They aren't going to the church on Sundays, but on Saturdays. To church on Saturday before the day of church services. On Fridays at sunset, we always stopped doing any work and dedicated all the time, left until midnight to reading and studying the Bible, singing different hymns. My family was very strict in moral values and dietary laws There was no smoking, drinking of alcohol, dating, listening to music, watching movies, or going to film shows. My parents was intent on raising us as devoted and responsible people, people who would be successful in life and care. As a matter of fact, our parents were so serious about Christianity that they named all of us after prophets mentioned in the Bible, and our sisters were named after the wives of the prophets. Our folks always gave their tithes, 10% of their total earnings to the church. To the church. He wrote that.
So they were practicing Christians.
Yeah, he in Kenya, his family, his father and his mother was very strict Christians. They tried their best.
And he converted to Islam after that.
After when he was 20 years from his age, he converted to Islam, embraced Islam.
You know, this is not the first story of a practicing Christian or Christian that is close to the religion, and he converts to Islam. This is not the first story. This happens a lot. Our very well-known, beloved Sheikh Yusuf Estes was also a preacher of Christianity, and he converted to Islam. So I think this isn't the story is continuous and it happens again and again.
Yes, of course.
And I think the reason for that is that because Christians, when they know their religion, they find out the mistakes that is in it, and then they find out the truth afterwards in Islam.
Yeah.
So let's continue.
Yeah. When he studied Christianity, when he read a lot of books about Christianity, he himself discovered many mistakes, many contradictions. He became, step by step, and believe that there is something wrong.
Believing that there's mistakes and wrong
mistakes
things,
and wrong things,
in Christianity.
wrong teachings. Okay. He tried to discuss some doctrines such as Trinity, such as divinity of Jesus, to some questions to the Christian scholars.
Okay.
But they suppressed him.
They suppressed
him.
And that's the story. It happens again and again. It's always the same. Whenever there is questioning, that's the way they act.
This encouraged him to study some religions other than Christianity. This course.
And that process or that part of his life was in Kenya?
In Kenya, yes, in Kenya. He read some books about Islam. Then his government sent him to African country, maybe Namibia, I'm not sure, to work there. There in Namibia, he met many good Muslim, right Muslim personalities. Stayed with them, lived with them, discussed with them. He saw their practices. Then he became very closer to them, asked them about their religion.
That's very important, and that actually gives us a very important part of the book, because this story actually is implemented and is read through his words in the book. I would like you, Professor, to talk to us about the chapters. Let's move through the chapters and just give a brief or talk about them briefly. Or would you like to talk about the whole book in brief afterwards? Whatever you like.
First of all, let me only remind you that
the book has 6 chapters, right?
The Ahmed Deedat scholar, I think that you know him.
He's very well known.
Sure. Very well known. helped him.
He helped
he
the
helped,
Sheikh Yahya.
Sheikh Yahya Ondego, يعني, and also the writings and the tapes of Sheikh Ahmed Didat
helped him in converting to Islam.
And guided him, encouraged him to convert, to embrace Islam, to be strongly convinced to believe in the...
And you know, Professor, that's also our message here at Huda TV.
Yeah. About the chapters of this book, as you mentioned, this book consists of 6 chapters. Chapter 1, Muslim and Christian beliefs.
So that's the first chapter, Muslim and Christian beliefs.
Beliefs.
He talks
about the Muslim and Christian understanding of God.
Okay.
This is very important.
He talks about the Muslim and Christian understanding of God.
Of God, okay. Yes. And Muslim and Christian belief in prophethood. Prophethood. As you know, the understanding of prophethood is different between Muslims and Christians. Muslim and Christian believe in divine revelation. The concept of belief in angels, the concept of belief in the day of judgment.
In both Islam and Christianity.
Both Islam and Christianity.
And he wants to prove
comparative, something of comparative study of the two religions, two major religions, Islam and Christianity. In this chapter, this is very brief chapter, but
chapter 1.
Yes, chapter 1. But he discussed very, very important and crucial points and gave information and very interesting ideas.
And he gave his experience as well.
Yes, yes.
Then he talks about chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Can we talk about the second chapter after the break?
Yes, of course.
Dear brothers and sisters, we will take a short break, and after the break, stay tuned to listen to this very interesting book. Welcome back. Today we're talking about Muslim-Christian interactions for Sheikh Yahya Ondego. A very interesting book. With us is a very special person to review this book, Dr. Professor Muhammad Abdullah Al-Sharqawi. Welcome back, Professor.
Thank you.
We stopped before the break at chapter 2. What does he say in chapter 2?
In chapter 2, the author discussed very important and crucial thought. The different theological understanding in Islam and Christianity.
Different theological
understanding. Very important, yes. Theological, as you know. Yeah. In Islam, the scholars...
What does he mean by theological?
The study of creed, the study of doctrines, religious doctrines. In Islam, we call this field of knowledge علم الكلام والعقيدة. In Christianity, they call this field of knowledge theology. Theology. And the scholar in theology, theologian. So
he's talking about theology in Christianity and Islam, or theology in Christianity only?
In Islam and Christianity.
And he's comparing?
Comparing the theological understanding of the Muslim scholars and Christian scholars of or relating the same points. Same point. So the study is a comparative study. In this chapter, he studied contrast between Christianity and Islam, the meaning of Islam in brief. This is very important because some of us as a Muslims understand Islam as the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But we have to understand the sound meaning of Islam as a submission to God, submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Islam is the religion of all prophets and messengers. the religion of Abraham, the religion of Musa, of Isa, Jesus, all of them. The meaning. Then he talk about the meaning of Christianity in brief also. In
So he
brief.
talks about the meaning of Islam and then the meaning of Christianity.
In brief, in brief.
Okay.
Let's move to chapter 3.
And that's all he has to say about theology.
About theology. Yes. Of course, the point of view of Muslim scholars.
I mean, theology goes into more than the meaning of Islam and meaning of Christianity.
Christianity, I talk about his idea about the meaning of Islam. Let me talk about his discussion of this concept, Christianity, or this expression, Christianity.
What does he say?
He said, Christianity this not religion of the Christ, not religion of Jesus alayhi salam.
Whose religion
Christianity, the religion of Saint Paul. Saint Paul, he founded this religion called today Christianity. Not the Jesus alayhi salam, not Isa alayhi salam, with the and there are a lot of writings in the West from the Christian theologian about this point.
So he says Christianity is not the religion of Jesus.
Yeah, let me remind you, there is...
He means by that Christianity that is between us today.
Yeah. I remember some European author named Hayam Makubi. The title of his book, The Myth Maker. Myth Maker. Yeah. Paul and the invention of Christianity.
Paul
and the invention of Christianity.
So he actually state on that the Christianity that is between us today is a myth.
The founder,
and it's an invention.
The founder of the Christianity, the current Christianity of today, is Saint Paul, not Jesus, not Isa alayhi salam.
Let's move on to chapter 3.
Chapter 3, Islam and Christianity as Scriptural Inquiry. This is very important and also at the same time very interesting chapter because he talked about the sacred books, the glorious Quran and the Old and New Testaments. The Old Testament, the sacred book of both Jews and Christians.
Okay.
He talked about the authenticity of the Bible and the Quran, theories and methods of authenticity. This is very technical study.
It's very academic.
Yeah, very academic, yes, very academic. The New Testament, divine or human? This is the question, divine or human?
Okay.
At the same time, and he talked about some of amazing scientific errors in the Bible.
He talks about the errors in the Bible.
Yes, amazing.
In the Old Testament or in the New Testament?
In the New Testament.
In the New Testament.
And the Old, both. Yes, both. The Quran, divine or human, also. Concerning Quran, he talked about some of the amazing scientific facts in the Quran. There, he talked about the amazing scientific errors.
Okay, he talks about the errors in the Bible, and then he talks about the scientific discoveries or the scientific notions in the Quran.
Yes.
Then let's move on to chapter 4 because I'm afraid we're running out of time.
Yes. Chapter 4, he talked about socio-political interaction between Muslims and Christians. Now he's moved from the religion itself to the followers
of Islam and Christianity.
Yes, and Christianity.
And that's the impression we get out of the title.
Yeah. he discussed many points: the church attitude towards Muslims, Jews, and European scientists, Islam, the religion of equality. Here, in this part, he discussed the very great and appreciated values of Islam, such as the equality, and talked about the sanctity of human life in Islam. Also, this is very important point. Justice and the rule of law, and talked about the Quranic verse. There is no compulsion in religion.
There is
There
no
is
compulsion in religion.
This is Surah Al-Baqarah.
That's on the contrary of what he's practiced or what happened to him, his story with the suppressing of the priests.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
Yeah,
his point.
Yeah,
Right.
this point.
I'm afraid we're running out of time. Let's very quickly talk about chapter 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Chapter 5 talks about economic interaction between Muslims and Christians. He talked about the Gulf Wars, a means of economic exploitation of the Western coalition when they came to
That's true.
and destroyed Iran.
And it was all economic.
Yeah.
Let's move on to chapter 6.
Yeah. In chapter 6, the author discussed some points such as social and moral interaction between Muslims and Christians.
Social and moral.
Yes, social and moral. Now, Sharia law, the safety pin of civilized societies, Islamophobia uncalled for. It challenges ahead for Muslim-Christian interactions. Last,
Really fast, what are these challenges?
There are many challenges. As you know, Islamophobia means the Western citizens have a very distorted and false image about Islam. They misunderstood.
So this is the only challenge?
Misunderstood. This is very dangerous for them.
So for him, this is the main
yes,
challenge.
This is the both par between the two societies
That's the main
and
challenge.
religions. Yeah, main challenge.
Okay.
Main challenge.
I would just like to ask you really fast because we ran out of time. Do you advise the normal reader with no Islamic background to read this book, or this is only dedicated to Muslims who have a religious background or who know more about Islam, and this can mix them up?
In fact, I advise every Muslim and every Christian also to read this book. This is very useful, very important, very informative book. And also at the same time, I advise my students to read this book. This is very useful for them, because the author discussed a lot of important, crucial thoughts. He studied all these points and ideas. He used a comparative approach to study these points. When you read book, use this approach, this methodology, this is very useful. You can see the both sides at the same book. So I advise readers, Christian readers and Muslim readers to read this book.
Professor Muhammad Abdullah Al-Sharqawi, I would like to thank you at the end of this episode. Thank you very much. Thank you too, brothers and sisters. And till we meet the next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.